Hey, I'm Beth Riley, and this is the Artist Spotlight podcast series. And today I have a very, very special guest. It is the legendary Mark Farner. Mark, how are you?
Good, Beth. Good to be with you today.
Well, thank you so much. Now, we'll get into the music questions here in just a bit. I'm going to put a little disclaimer right here. I'm not very political at all, but I am a massive fan of Thomas Jefferson, who it happens to be his birthday today. He's 200.
Oh.
If he were still alive, he'd be 280.
Yeah, that'd be something.
I celebrated a birthday on Monday. I'm not quite 280 yet, but
working on it.
I'm working on it. Yeah, got a little bit to go.
Well, I'm a Thomas Jefferson fan as well, so I guess we are in good company with one another here.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad you said that. Now I don't have to hang up on you. I'm kidding. We actually just went to Columbia, Missouri to see the original grave marker of Thomas Jefferson. And that was like a dream come true for me.
Yeah. And there's good, great people planted all over this country, but the spirit is still alive in those of us who live in, and we still believe in the words that were spoken by these great people, and we still want what they wanted.
Right. Now, is there someone's birthday like Thomas Jefferson's that you celebrate that maybe you haven't met before, or you've been inspired by or fascinated with, like my Thomas Jefferson fascination?
Well, birthdays are just another day for me. I mean, just because that's the way I kind of like to live it. When it's my birthday, I don't want there to be some big old celebration and a cake and ice cream and all that fattening stuff.
Yeah.
I just like to let them kind of go by. I confess them like in advance. I've been telling people I'm 75 so that when September 29th gets here, I can just kind of cruise right into it,
I hear you.
Yeah. I've been telling people already.
I don't blame you. This is the first year that I have claimed my age, I guess you could say. So, you've been in several bands, from the Bossmen to Terry Knight and the Pack, Grand Funk Railroad, and now Mark Farner's American Band. Let's talk about how you got to that point. When was the moment that you knew that music is something that you wanted to do?
Before we go any further, we can't forget Ringo Starr's All-Star Band in 1995. I was in there too. So.
Oh yeah, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr is my favorite Beatle.
All right. That's a dang good answer. Yeah. My mother got me guitar lessons for my 15th birthday because I was injured playing football. I could no longer play ball or run track. So my mother, knowing how much I enjoyed hearing my name called out on the loudspeaker, she got me the guitar lessons. And I got 6 lessons and rented an acoustic guitar, a K. I don't know if you have heard of the K. It was kind of an inexpensive acoustic guitar line, and I think they even made some electrics. But mine would have been better used for a bow and arrow set. The strings were so far away from the neck on it. Oh, my God, Beth. Yeah, but that got me into it. And then, going in through the incarnations of the bands that you mentioned.
Right.
That was all. Well, and before Terry Knight and the Pack, there was Mojo and the Nightwalkers, the Geneseans, because we came from Genesee County.
Right.
The Derelicts, and Robin and the Hoods.
And
I was in all of them.
Yeah, and those are all bands that I talked about on the show. I did a Mark Farner focus show, and those were all bands that I mentioned. It was all things Mark Farner.
Bless your heart. Thank you so much, Beth Riley.
So you'll have to have your people, because I sent them a link to it.
Uh-huh.
So
okay, yeah.
Definitely get on them and say, hey, where's that show?
Right on. I'll hit Melissa up for it.
Yeah, Melissa's who I was talking to a little bit.
Good. Yeah, she's a good girl.
Now, I know you're a massive fan of Howard Tate, who...
Yes.
I will confess I had not heard of until the show that I was doing for you, but I was glad to be introduced to his music.
Awesome.
He's amazing. So what was it about him that jumped out at you right away, personally?
His ability to do things with his vocal that were not only amazing as far as his range, but his ability to give character to, what he was singing. Like, I've learned it all the hard way. He come out and just pour his heart out in front of you, and you would believe how bad this man's hurting just from the way he sang it. He characterized the character of the song with the nature of his voice as he sung it and played the movie. That's what because when I hear him sing, I close my eyes and I'm watching the movie.
Yeah,
it's that good. Yeah.
The song that I did on your show that I did for you was "Get It While You Can."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I heard from a bird. I'm just kidding. No, I read somewhere that you like that album. So it's like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Get It While You Can. And do you know that Janis Joplin did that song, and it's on one of her live albums, and she did it up so good. And a friend of mine, I didn't even know this, but then a friend of mine sent me the album, and I put it on, and I went, oh my God, yes. And Janis and I were friends, but we never talked about Howard Tate. It just didn't come up in conversation. And now that, she's gone and I can't talk to her about it, but it sure is nice to know that she admired the same guy that I admire.
She was a legend herself. So
yeah.
So other than Howard Tate, who would you say some of your influences are, either vocally or as a guitarist?
Vocally, Aretha Franklin, little Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, the vocals, man. I just really love the Motown stuff. I really got into that. But as far as guitar, Jeff Beck, Rick Derringer, and Eric Clapton from the album Fresh Cream. I loved that guitar sound that he had. I loved where he was at with his playing on that album. But after that album, I didn't care for anything else that he did.
Yeah.
I really didn't. He left that tone and all that really got me into it. And I was disappointed. So outside of that, Jimi Hendrix was my guitar god. He was the guy because he could make it cry, he could make it sing, he could make it speak. Every bit of it was believable.
Now, out of the ones that you mentioned, the only one that I didn't play on the show were the Temptations.
Ha-ha.
So see what I did there? No.
That's awesome.
But I do love the Temptations. Rick Derringer, I wasn't too familiar with his stuff before. Yeah, I was raised on people, Jackson Browne, James Taylor, Jimmy Buffett.
All right.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah. So, ain't a thing wrong with it.
No. Speaking of Grand Funk Railroad, let's get back to those days.
Okay.
A lot of great music there, a lot of success. I know you tried unsuccessfully to get the band back together, and we're not likely to see a reunion there, but what are some good memories from that time period of your life?
The good memories are the first Atlanta Pop Festival, where we knew that we had something that those 185,000 people really enjoyed. They didn't want us to leave the stage. They made no bones about it. The guys from the concert, the pop festival, it was 3 days. we opened up 12 o'clock noon on the opening day. They liked us so much, they didn't want us to leave the stage. They kept calling us back. And then we did our show the following day at 7 p.m. And so that was a little bit better time slot. And then the third day, we were on at 11 p.m. with all the lights, the big spotlights, and all the benefits of being more three-dimensional, and lit up before a big audience like that. And those 3 days, we really put our mark in rock and roll. We really, established. We did the songs that I wrote for the first album, and I wrote all of them. Mm-hmm. And we did Land of a Thousand Dances by Wilson Pickett, his version of Land of a Thousand Dances. And I would take my guitar off and throw it to the guitar tech, and I would just be dancing my little butt all over that stage. I was having a great time, and I think that's part of why people like to come and see us, because I was putting on a show. I still put on a show today, not like I did, back when I was 20 years old, because that's been a couple of moons. But I still enjoy putting on a show. I think people, they appreciate the extra effort that you put into it. And I proved one thing during that first day of the Atlanta Pop Festival was when I went back out to do Land of a Thousand Dances, my brand new paisley print see-through shirt was sticking to my body like you wouldn't believe. I was sweating like a stuck hog. And I could hardly move because this thing it was plastered to me. And I just said, I'm going to get rid of this thing. And I grabbed a hold of it and I ripped it off my body. And the audience loved that. They just enjoyed the heck out of it. And I said, well, that worked. There's certain things that I've done on stage that I have repeated because people let me know by the reactions they gave to me how much they enjoyed it. And so that's how I've kind of built my visual part of the show and put a display of some of my antics that I still demonstrate to this day because of those accolades. And the switch got turned on. That worked. So, that's why I went out shirtless. I mean, I would go with a vest, and by the second song, the vest was off, and I was shirtless, and I had an armband on. That's where I learned it, at that first Atlanta Pop Festival, and I've stuck with it for most of my career.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see you out there still doing it, as Mark Farner's American Band, is still doing the songs that we all know and have loved for 50 plus years now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you wrote most of the Grand Funk Railroad stuff, like 90%, over 90%. And
92%.
92%.
Yes.
I'm not good with math or numbers, but
you're pretty good at saying them.
Yeah, see, I can say them. I can say them just fine. But your solo stuff is equally just as awesome. Now,
thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have a favorite song to play?
Now?
Yeah, now.
I've got it. Yes. I've been playing it. It's one that nobody's heard yet. It's called Same Game, and it's coming out. It's going to be the first one out of the gate on my new record. I'm making an album, and Mark Slaughter is producing it. I just got off the horn with him this morning, and Same Game is going to be a single that we release first, just to kind of give people an idea of what's up, and then we'll release a vinyl album along with a CD version and the downloads. But we want to put the vinyl out there because people really appreciate the first stuff that I was putting out was all on vinyl. Up until, Cheese O Pizza, 77, 76. Yeah, they were all vinyl.
Interesting.
Yeah. For on stage, the ones that I enjoy the most is, of course, I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home, Creepin', Bad Time, Locomotions, Some Kind of Wonderful, Inside Looking Out, and some of the early ones that we played, like Paranoid and In Need. And because of the audience reaction when we go into those songs, I'm telling you something, Beth, it just puts goosebumps right up and down my arms.
Oh, I bet.
Just the reaction we get from the audience, and I thank God that I'm still able to sing the songs in the original keys.
I watched a clip of you not too long ago do Closer to Home, and I was like, was it not the same day that you did the original? I mean, you know.
Bless your heart. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not much has changed, and that's a good thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's people like, I'm going to talk about it. There's people out there like Roger Daltrey of The Who. His voice has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And Robert Plant, who I like a lot. His has changed a lot. I think he's trying to be quieter these days, though. Like with Alison Krauss, you know, he's trying to be in a lower level. So that's good.
Yeah.
Is there a song that you get tired of playing?
No.
That's good. That's the right answer. There is a right and wrong answer. That was the right one.
Yeah. I love them all. And, like I say, when we go into some of the favorites and you don't know because it's different across the country.
Yeah.
Which ones are some people like, over on the East Coast, well, out in Iowa, they don't react the same way. They do for other songs, but not for the same, so it's great that back then when our music was being played, it was being played on stations that were not manipulated by Clear Channel. But right now, since 96, most of the radio and television has been bought up by Clear Channel and the like, corporate conglomerates that they don't have what it takes to really feed rock and rollers. All they got is the memories, and they don't even put those together very good.
One thing I did want to mention, a little side note, I forgot to tell you at the beginning. I don't know if you're a fan of the Wrecking Crew or not, but we have them in the building. We live in an apartment building downtown Joplin. Not the actual Wrecking Crew. It's just a loud crew downstairs working on the elevator. So if you hear noise, it's the Wrecking Crew.
Oh, okay.
I call them MC Hammer and the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, the real Wrecking Crew. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I haven't heard a daggone thing.
Well, that's good. Have you ever been starstruck by anyone? I've always said that if I could meet Jackson Browne, I'd probably not be able to speak. Is there someone like that for you?
Not really. I have great respect for people, but I've never been starstruck.
Well, that's good. And I might not be, if I were able to meet Jackson Browne one day, I might just be fine.
Yeah. You don't know.
Now, speaking of him, did you know that you inspired one of his songs?
No.
You did.
Which one?
Well, I'm going to tell you a quote from him. How about that?
Okay.
He said, I remember being in Glenn Frey and Don Henley's apartment one night. The guy next door was playing this Grand Funk Railroad song, Get It Together. I was thinking, get what together? That's what For Every Man was. It's about he said it's about the expectations we had, all the changes in the 60s that had burned out by 1972 or 1973. It's meant to be an expression of the search for connection with others for common purpose. So there you go. You inspired a Jackson Browne song.
That's a dang good answer. I am so glad you shared that with me, Beth.
I think that is really cool.
Yeah. I really like Jackson Browne now.
You said now? You weren't a fan before?
Yeah. I'm just playing with you.
Have you met him before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, see, we're in the same boat.
Yep, that's right.
You did We're an American Band. Let me ask about another American band, the Beach Boys. This one is for my husband, James, who does a surf-related show. Have you ever been a fan of the Beach Boys?
I am a big fan of the Beach Boys. Yeah, all their harmonies, California Girls. Oh, just the innovations that they came up with in rock music that made it, advance to some degree. They were the first one to use a synthesizer on that Good Vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
That that little noise that was made. That was a synthesizer, and that was before it was a key. They moved their hand close to this wand, and it would make that noise.
That little theremin thing, is that what it's called? Theremin? Am I getting my word?
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it, girl. And so I have great respect for them. And the Ventures, they're another group that was early on. Johnny Winters, the early on ones, that's the ones who stick out the most. And with the Beach Boys had the harmonies, and they were just great innovators.
Now, another band I want to talk about, you talked about them earlier. You brought it to my attention that I forgot to say them. Ringo Starr, being a part of anything with Ringo Starr. What was that like for you?
Well, it was a wonderful experience to have Ringo give me a holler on the telephone, because David Fishoff from Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, he called me because he was actually doing the promotions for that tour. He says, "Mark, how would you like to go out with Ringo Starr and be in the All-Star band?" I said, "That would be great, man," because he told me you do some of your songs. Everybody's going to do, some of their own hits, and then you guys do Ringo's stuff and the Beatles stuff. And I said, "Man, that sounds like a blast. I would love to do that." So the next day, Ringo called me from Monaco and told me glad to have me on board and glad that I accepted the invitation. And then he says, "But I'm not the drummer on this tour." I said, "Oh, well, who's going to drum?" He says, "My son, Zach." So that was pleasant news to me, because I heard that Zach was really a great drummer through the grapevine. So to be able to experience having him sit back there and kick my butt along, that was a good lick right there.
You've worked with a lot of different artists. Is there one that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to?
Oh, there's several that I haven't worked with that I would enjoy working with. Daryl Hall?
Yeah, Daryl Hall.
Hall and Oates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've always thought, because I really liked them guys when they came out, that him and I could write a song that would skip right along and make you tap your foot and want to dance.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think music should do. If nothing else, it should make you want to get your butt up and get out on a dance floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is for sure. Now, you've had some pretty tragic events happen in your life, but you have had a great woman by your side for well over 4 decades now. What is the key to a long, successful marriage, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it is, and I didn't really realize it until it was spoken to me when I went to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, to receive the Cherokee Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of my people in the tribe were talking to me, and this one guy said he admired the fact that I was a rock and roller and still married to the same woman. And then his friend said, yes, Cherokee men esteem their wives to be equal with themselves. And I went, it's like the light went on. Bingo. Yep, that's it. I don't lord anything over her. And with respect like that, love can blossom. You can give with reckless abandon to that love. And that's what needs to happen in life to experience the fullness of life. Men have to give 100% of their love without reservation. Women have to give 100% of their love without reservation. Then we can have a beautiful life. It's learning how to say I'm sorry. It's learning how to say thank you. It's learning how to say, oops, I messed up, but it's the equality. And I believe that our world is so messed up because there's too damn much testosterone running it. There is not enough feminine energy interjected, considered, and I'm talking the kind of balance that I just spoke of, that there's got to be the male-female respect and consideration. But so far this world has been out of control because men are running it. And it's not the governments. They don't run us. It's the people that finance the governments and the families that own the world banks and the Federal Reserve not only issue the currency to the United States of America, but also to Mexico and to Canada and to South Africa and to Argentina and to Japan and on and on and on. I think there's only 3 countries in the world that these world banksters don't issue the currency to, and that would be North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. And most every other nation is under the control of these families who issue currency, which is debt notes. They tell us, oh, that's worth $20. See, that's got 20 on there. And 20 is worth this much. You could buy this much of that with that 20 and blah, 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 blah. So our imagination has been puffed up by BS. That's just a piece of paper. Somebody told us what it was worth. And it's fraudulent in its inception. But we got to wake up to this as the world, and then we can straighten things out. But as long as we're, along on this chain that they got us attached to, we're just snapping to and following orders. And I don't like following the orders of insanity. And those people that say, oh, you'll have nothing and be happy, those people they're crazy. They are insaniacs. You know what I'm saying? They are so puffed up with themselves. Their pride and their egos have eaten them up. They have been eaten alive by that, and they've allowed it. But here we are struggling to make our dollars, our money, to pay our bills, to pay the mortgage, to pay the car, to pay all of our, monthly gas and electric and all the things that we encounter as human beings here. But the house of cards is going to come crumbling down. And when people wake up, then we can have our country back. But until that happens, we're just kind of being divided by the powers that be. And I'm not a Democrat, and I'm not a Republican. I'm an American.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the best way to be.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you are a big supporter of our veterans and stuff like that. Your late father, Delton, was a World War II vet. Tell me about the military and the things that you do for them.
Well, of course, playing USO shows, and when we were in Germany in 1971, we did a show for 10,000 U.S. troops that were in Schweinfurt, Germany. But the concert was not only for the troops, because they opened it up to the civilians, the Germans that came in, and whoever, rock and rollers that were aware of the concert that showed up. And it was a great and wonderful adventure. I have played around the world to our troops. I know because, when I was a youngster, I experienced this along with a lot of other folks. When they hear me say this, it'll ring a bell for them. But we learned how to take orders, that we were told to do something, and we put our hands on our hips and we looked up at them and said, why? And they said, because I said so. And we learned the consequences of not doing something when somebody said to do it. So our soldiers, they might not believe in the war. They might not know anything about what has caused that war, but they are following orders because they know the consequences of not following orders. And first, most and foremost, They are there because they believe in their hearts that they are protecting us, that they are protecting freedom and the right of freedom for anybody who comes to this country. That's the special place in my heart for our troops and for our veterans. And last year we did a concert out in Wilmington, Delaware for Stop Soldier Suicide. It is an average of 22 veterans a day take their lives. And you don't have to have a very, mathematical head to figure, man, that is a lot of people in the course of a year. So we put these concerts together. We raise money for Veterans Support Foundation that takes these veterans off the street when they come back and gets them into a job position, gets them job training. They're in a house with decent meals and beds, and other recovering soldiers. A lot of them come back missing limbs. And we do what we can to help provide entertainment for those folks too, and as much as putting instruments in the hospitals for them to fiddle with while they're there to help pass the time while they're healing. For me, it's the fulfillment of being a human being and following my heart, because it is a true love I have for our veterans and for our active military. I don't have to fake it. I ain't doing it for a tax write-off. I do it from my heart because I believe I'm storing my treasures in heaven when I do this. And that's what it's all about when it's all over anyways, Beth.
Now, another thing I wanted to mention, since we're on the military subject, is a neat fact that I read about was that your mother was the first female welder for like the Sherman tanks and all that, which your dad drove. So I thought that was a neat little connection.
Absolutely. And the picture in the Flint Journal of my mother standing on a Sherman tank with a striker in her right hand, her helmet tilted back so you could see a beautiful smile on her face, and her fist clenched in her left hand. It was like, I'm doing this for my man. I'm doing this for our country because he's doing it for our country and for the sake of freedom for those who come here. I'm part of that blood. So it is no small wonder to me that I should have these sincere emotional connections and feelings that lead me further down the road as we get into these other wars and conflicts. And we're doing all we can to get people to stop these wars. But those families that control the finances of the world, they are the ones who are propelling and funding these wars and all the pandemic BS.
Now, there's a couple of fun questions I have for you.
Good.
just to make it exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could go back to a certain year or a time period, decade, era, however you want to word it, is there a certain time that you would want to go back to?
I kind of, reminisce about being without electricity, seeing some of the old shows where they're just in a log cabin they're burning candles, burning a fire, cooking with wood that they hand sawed and split. That's healthy for my mind, that I appreciate that kind of thing. I love to go camping and use my skills. So just before electricity is one era that I would have loved to live part of that.
That would have been a neat time.
Yeah.
And the other fun little question, it's a thinker though, but if you could pick 3 to 5 albums to take with you to a desert island, which 3 to 5 albums would you pick?
Get it while you can. Howard Tate, Aretha Franklin, the one that's got Chain of Fools. Yeah. That original. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That album. And the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys.
Yeah, man. We were talking about, I'm thinking, because every once in a while, I don't know why, but a Beach Boys song will come into my mind. I'll get up in the morning and it is on my mind. So I will go over and find it on the net and turn the speakers up, and Leisa knows what I'm thinking about. immediately, no matter where she is in the house, because we are rocking to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite album of theirs, or one that you would take?
Well, this dirty thing. It's reminding me I got another interview coming up here. But as far as I couldn't tell you the name of the album because I just
know the songs and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, a Beach Boys album is good. Any Beach Boys album.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite way to listen to music? I know, vinyl is making a comeback. There's 8 tracks. There's cassette tapes. There's, iTunes.
I like vinyl.
Vinyl.
I really like vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has an analog vibe to it. Even before the music starts, I just like the sound of the needle going along in that groove. It's like, oh, there's anticipation. As soon as you hear that sound, you remember the song Tossing and a-Turning All Night?
Yeah.
There is a noise floor that occurs before the downbeat of that song, Beth, that puts you on attention. And then when the song hits, it's like you're off and running. And so I often thought of that man, it'd just be nice to capture those moments in the different songs where there's just that sound, the needle in the groove before the next downbeat. It's like those holes that were in those records they were like a hook to me, as much as the chorus is a hook to some people. Just those spaces became hooks to me. So that's why I'm so fond of the vinyl.
Now, this one might be a tough question. It's another thinker. Or maybe not. Maybe it's easy for you. But what is your favorite song from your entire catalog of songs?
I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home.
Me too. We have the same favorite.
Awesome. I knew there was something I liked about you right off.
Ditto. Yeah, it's just, it's a great song. I know it has a personal meaning to you. For me, I just love it. There's no rhyme or reason as to why I do. I just do.
Well, this is good, because when I prayed for that song, I asked the Lord to give me a song that would reach and touch the hearts that the Lord wanted to get to. And that came in the middle of the night. The lyrics came. I didn't even know it was a song till I got up the following morning, and I was fiddling with my guitar out in the kitchen and then having a coffee and looking at the horses out in the pasture, and I just started playing do-do-do-do. There's like, what? What is that? And then, hitting the C chord and in an inversion that I had never played before, but it caught my attention and it spoke to me. And so I was thinking, I better write down this chord position. And then I thought, well, where's my pencil and paper? Then I thought, oh yeah, it's in the bedroom right there where I wrote those words last night. Because I got up at 3:30 in the morning, something like that, and wrote the words to I'm Your Captain. But I was not in a conscious state of mind. I was between heaven and earth, I call it, where you're not awake, consciously awake, but you're just in this state of being that's kind of in limbo, and you're hanging there. And I started writing the words, and it sounded crazy to me. And I knew not to go back to the top and reread anything that I'd previously written, just to keep writing these words as they were coming. And by the time I got done writing the words, Beth, I was just tuckered out. I put the paper and pen down and rolled back under the sheets, and I was gone to sleep in 2 seconds. But when I went to get the words that I wrote, I brought them back out, sat them down on the table alongside my cup of coffee, and I pushed the red button down on my cassette recorder, and I started playing and singing. That's how I'm Your Captain came to be. I wrote the music to it. A lot of people say, well, it goes to like 2 or 3 different songs, and it was only one song in my mind, but I love that interpretation because it's long before any music videos were even thought of. So the videos were going on in each individual's head. A DJ in New York City told me they took 100 different people. They said they wanted them to write the definition of the song. What does this mean? The Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. And they got 100 diversely different definitions, not even any two that were even similar. They were all different. That's the beauty of our individuality. And so that song meant, a million different things to a million different people, especially our veterans, because that was during the Vietnam era. Many Vietnam vets told me that this is the song that brought them home, that gave them the hopes that they were going to come home and they were going to get home. And so has it been with Iraq and Afghanistan, the desert dust, that whole everything since then, all the conflicts. People still hang on to the hope that this song brings them to come home.
It makes me think about, and it might not be the greatest memory, but I do love the song. Genuinely, I've only been on a ship one time, one and done. Mm-hmm. I got really, really seasick on that trip.
Oh.
And I couldn't wait to get home. So I was feeling mighty sick.
Yeah, I hear you.
I was in my head saying, take me back now, take me back now.
Yeah. Awesome. That is so sweet.
But anyway, yeah, like I said, I do love the song, but it does make me think of that bad memory, but I do love the song.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Now, what is next for you other than, I know you're teaming up with my buddy Jim Babjack and the Smithereens, featuring guest vocalist Robin Wilson of the Gin Blossoms on April 21st. Anything else in the works for you?
It's all at markfarner.com. I don't ever want to know where I'm playing, and I don't have room for it. Seriously, I'm working on new music, and I know the dates that I'm going, but I don't know where I'm going until like the day before. Leisa will say, "Okay, now you're going out to New York. You're going to play Staten Island there, and you're going to play." Okay, all right, now I can be ready for it. But before that, I don't want to know. I got so much going on here at the farm with my music, and I'm completely used up, and I ain't got room for any of that kind of information. That's a thank God for Leisa.
Yeah. That's a good thing to know, markfarner.com, for all the things Mark Farner.
Right on.
Well, Mark, that is all I have for you.
Thank you, Beth Riley. It's been a real blessing to talk to you and to hear the spunk in your voice, and know that the listeners are going to be appreciative of the questions that you ask, and hopefully the answers that I put. Has been a real joy for me to be here with you today. Yeah,
it's been an absolute blast for me. And I mean that sincerely, and I hope you continue to keep on rocking it out. Okay, well, you keep on bopping, Beth, and I'll keep on rocking. All right, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Bye for now. Bye for now.